cadets, listen up. At the edge of our hope, at the end of our time, we choose not only to believe in ourselves, but in each other. Today, there is not a man nor woman in here that shall stand alone. Not today. Today, we shall face the monstrosities that plague our movie theaters, and we will bring the fight to them. Today, we are canceling this franchise! Hey guys, the Black Critic Guy here with a rather late review of Pacific Rim Resurgence. Pacific Rim Uprising. Now, Pacific Rim 2, Electric Kaiju Boogaloo, takes place 10 whole years after the events of the first film and follows the son of Idris Elba's character, who kind of comes out of nowhere. I don't recall Idris Elba talking about having a son. I know he adopted Mako, the Japanese girl, but no talks of a biological son. But hey, you know what? I could be wrong, but at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. And he's this rebel without a cause type character who gets into some trouble and has to pick between either going to jail or training a bunch of new cadets at the Jaeger piloting school. And guess which one he chose? Why, jail, of course! Roll the credits! No, I'm just kidding. He obviously chooses to train the cadets at the Jaeger piloting school. But uh-oh, disaster strikes as a new threat has arisen, and now him, his old friend that he has a strained relationship with, and the cadets must face off against this new threat and stop them from destroying the world. Now, I had very lukewarm feelings towards the first Pacific Rim. While I enjoyed the style of the film, I felt like it lacked in the substance department, especially when it came to its characters, who I felt were paper thin, and the story, which I didn't find all that compelling. Sure, I was riveted by the action and the visuals. They look spectacular, but there was just no weight to any of it, so I wasn't really attached to anything. I just didn't really care that much. And I know many of you are going to say, well, it wasn't trying to be a deep story, Tony. It was just trying to be a fun popcorn action film. And that's totally fine, but the film does go out of its way to have these really small, tender, sentimental moments where characters are bonding and trying to build some type of relationship and trying to establish character depth, but it just didn't register with me. The best character in the first film was Mako, hands down. She had a good arc, she had a great backstory, her relationship with Idris Elba's character was fleshed out, fully realized. She was the best character. Everybody else didn't really stand out to me. You got your comic reliefs, you got your stoic badass main character guy, and then you got Idris Elba, who's just badass. Other than that, the film just didn't really click with me. I enjoyed some of it, but I didn't enjoy it all. To sum it up, I saw a lot of potential in what Pacific Rim could have been, but it just missed the mark, at least for me. And I got a ton of flack for my opinions on that film, and I totally accept the flack. I have not changed my opinion of the film since then. I still feel the same way about it now than I did back in 2013. But after seeing Pacific Rim Job, man, am I nostalgic for Pacific Rim. Because at least with Pacific Rim, as much as it did miss the mark, you can really tell that the people making this film were passionate about making Pacific Rim. Guillermo del Toro was a man with a vision, and he wanted to bring this vision to life on the big screen. Pacific Rim Job, on the other hand, feels very manufactured, like a studio called to milk this franchise for all it's worth. It's soulless, it has no style, it has no substance, it is just a cash grab in the worst way possible. And it's kind of funny that this is considered a cash grab, considering that the first Pacific Rim didn't do so well at the box office. You would think that they would not even go near making a sequel to Pacific Rim, but here we are in 2018 with the sequel, and they should have just left it alone. But okay, let's pump the brakes first and address some good things about Pacific Rim Revenge of the Fallen Kaijus. The visuals were good, not as good as the first film, mind you, but they were serviceable. The film didn't look like complete shit. They did put some effort, although there are two shots. There's two shots in the film that looked god-awful, clearly shot on a green screen. And it was this whole like one-shot take that looked really awful, how it would go from one character to another character and it'd go up and down and side to side, and I just wanted to puke. One, because I was dizzy, and two, it looked god-awful. There were two pretty solid action scenes in the film where Gypsy Avenger, I think that's what the Jaeger is called, is fighting this rogue Jaeger. Those were pretty fun and entertaining action scenes. But they happened in the first 45 minutes of the film. After that, there are no other good action sequences. Nothing that is quite memorable or even noteworthy. And that's a damn shame. And, yeah, that's about it. That's all the praise I'm willing to give this film. No, wait, I take that back. There is one more thing I will give this film credit for. There is a pretty interesting twist in the middle of the film that I liked. It made sense, but it was rather predictable. Like, the moment that you see it, you're like, oh yeah, I already knew that like 20 minutes going into it, because you see this one thing and you start scratching your head like, well, that kind of seems out of place. That doesn't seem right. I bet you something's up with this. Sure enough, you find out later something was up with that, and you go, yup, called it. And now it's time to address all the problems with Above the Pacific Rim. And the biggest problem with the film, coincidentally, is the exact same problem with the first film. A huge lack of substance. It cared more about its pretty visuals and abundance of action sequences and slow-mo, but didn't really put a lot of time or attention to building some great, worthwhile, and likable characters, building strong bonds between these characters, and creating a riveting and compelling story. Both the story and the characters are derivative and chock full of so many annoying cliches that it actually made me laugh out loud in the film. I just couldn't believe my eyes that they were resorting to these cliches that were so fucking obvious and played out. Especially when it came to the characters, as all of them are very one-note, obvious characters that have little to no development and have no character arcs. I mean, let's start off with the main character, Idris Elba's son, who's this rebel without a cause that becomes this reluctant hero who's called to action because he was destined for great things, and he's gonna lead this team to defeat the kaijus. That's basically what his character is. He's stoic, reluctant hero guy. Then you got the girl that he accidentally bumps into, who's this pesky brat with a tragic backstory where her parents were comically killed by a kaiju. I shit you not. When I saw this backstory, I giggled because it felt like something from a Looney Tunes cartoon. Like, they get stomped on by a kaiju, and all I was thinking in the back of my head was womp 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 womp. But this character doesn't have an arc. This character does not have a distinct personality. This character does not go through any worthwhile growth throughout the film, and most definitely does not form a convincing bond with the main character. Like, they try desperately to convince you that these two are growing closer and closer together as the film goes on, but it's completely phony and forced. I didn't buy it whatsoever, and it could be the fact that, one, their dialogue between each other is awful. Whoever wrote their dialogue does not know how to build a character bond between these two characters, and two, they spend less than 3 minutes with each other in each scene. So how am I supposed to be convinced that these two are growing closer when their scenes are literally as long as warming up a Hot Pocket? But believe it or not, their relationship isn't even the most unbelievable. That honor goes to Idris Elba's son's relationship with Mako and this generic white guy who's basically Charlie Hunnam 2.0. First, let's start off with his relationship with his sister Mako. So you're telling me that I'm supposed to buy that these two have such a close, tight sibling relationship when they only spent 2 scenes together in the entire film, both of which were very short and never really established what type of relationship they actually had. Give me a fucking break. But even worse is that there's this overly dramatic scene between these 2 characters 30 minutes into the film that just didn't register with me. I called bullshit immediately when I saw it because they didn't do enough to really establish some sort of connection between the 2 to where you actually bought this scene, like he would actually be feeling this way at this certain moment. I didn't buy it. And then you have his buddy, Charlie Hunnam 2.0, played by Scott Eastwood, who... oh my god, Scotty boy. You gotta give it up, man. You're not a good actor. You do not have your father's gene. You do not have your father's charisma. Just end it, man. Stop it. You tried your damnedest to be a star. You tried it with Suicide Squad. You tried it with the Fast and Furious films. And now you're trying it here with Pacific Rim. But I'm sorry, man. The audience are just not biting the bait. We see through your guys, man. It's not working for us. You are the weakest performance in this film. And they established that the 2 have this strained relationship due to them liking the same girl, I guess. Which, by the way, that girl, wow. Talk about a token character that adds nothing to the story, adds nothing to any of the characters. A complete pointless character. I don't even know why they even brought her up. She didn't even need to be in the film. They could have just said, yeah, remember when you stole my girl? Oh yeah, I remember that. You're still hung up about that, man? Get over it. And then that's it. Just move on to the next scene. We don't need that girl to actually be around, because what did she do in the film? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. But going back to Charlie Hunnam 2.0, I mean, this guy is as bland as it comes, guys. All he does is bark out orders and yell at the cadets and then whine to Idris Elba's son about the past and, oh, you were destined for great things and then you did all this. You effed up your life. What you doing, young man? You gotta put your act together. And I hated his character. His character, to me, was as frivolous as the girl character that I just ranted about a couple seconds ago. If he wasn't in the movie, I would have been perfectly fine. Just have it be about Idris Elba's son and that one girl that he bumped into, just them 2. And maybe even have Mako play a bigger role in the film. Like she's in command or something like that. I would have been perfectly fine. We didn't need Scott Eastwood in this film. His character is pointless. And then there's the generic diversity, cadets, who I'm not even going to waste my breath talking about them. Just get them the fuck out of here. Now, the story, another thing I want to address about the story, just like the first film where they borrowed some elements from Independence Day, the story in this film borrows some elements from Independence Day Resurgence, especially the final scene of the film. It's literally ripped from Independence Day Resurgence, and I facepalm so hard, like, really? Of all the films you want to rip off, you chose Independence Day Resurgence? Really? But what makes Pacific Rim Annihilation worse than its predecessor is that even its style couldn't save it from being a forgettable piece of shit, as it's played out, generic, and hollow. Everything the film presents on a stylistic level has been done to death and done better in other films. I honestly felt like I wasn't even watching a sequel to Pacific Rim. I was watching a poor man's Transformers. I mean, especially when it came to the final action scene, the climax of the film. And my goodness, the climax of this film. I literally had no fucking clue what was happening in the climax of the film. It's just a cacophony of visual noise. I mean, you have no idea who's fighting who has the upper hand, there's no fluidity from shot to shot. I honestly felt like I was watching an action scene from a Transformers film. Just all this rubble flying everywhere. You see the Jaegers flying all over the place and the kaijus flying all over the place, but who's fighting who and which kaiju is which? Like, they mentioned that there are 2 level 4s and 1 level 5. Well, which one's the level 5? Which ones are the level 2s? They all look the same. If there's one credit I can give the first film is that each of the kaijus had a distinct look. You could tell them apart. You could tell which one is the level 4, which one's the level 5, which one's the strongest, which one's the most badass. The kaijus in this film, there's only 3 of them, but they all look the same. And I didn't even mention the lack of tension or investment in the climax. I just didn't give a shit. So overall, guys, Pacific Rim Episode 2, Attack of the Kaijus, was an abysmal failure. The only thing that this film succeeded in was making the first film look better by comparison. It changed my opinion about Pacific Rim. I would rather watch Pacific Rim 1,000 times than to watch this unnecessary waste of time ever again. But as always, guys, I'm not the end-all be-all opinion when it comes to Pacific Rock'em Sock'em Kaijus. I would love to know what you guys thought about the film as well. Did you overall enjoy it? Do you think that it was a solid follow-up to Pacific Rim? Or are you like me and found it to be god-awful and unnecessary? And let me know, what's your favorite mech movie? Movie about giant robots. Comment below, let me know, and stay tuned. I have another episode of Doki Doki Literature Club coming your way real soon, as well as hopefully 2 anime reviews, so get excited for that. I want to take this time to personally thank all of the patrons who have donated to my Patreon account. It's through your generous donations that I'm able to make videos such as this. And if you'd like to support the Black Critic Guy just a smidge more, consider donating to my Patreon account. There's a link in the description. And if you'd like to see more videos on this channel and be a part of the Black Critic crew, please hit that subscribe button below, like this video if you really enjoyed it, and I'm 21II, canceling this film franchise as the Black Critic Guy. Till then, peace, YouTube.